आइए हम सुने विज्ञान की अनकही कहानियाँ। आइए हम सुने विज्ञान की अनसुनी कहानियाँ। एक नई दुनिया की आवाज़ आपकी आवाज़, विज्ञान की आवाज़, की आवाज़।
Celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, we bring you a podcast series on STEM popularization, science, technology, engineering, mathematics and medicine, supported and catalyzed by the National Council for Science and Technology Communication, Government of India. This program is produced by Media for Community Foundation. Creative content and technical support is given by Purvasha Banerjee and Shushanto Das.
एक नई दुनिया की आवाज़ आपकी आवाज़, विज्ञान की आवाज़, की आवाज़, की आवाज़।
Vigyan Ki Awaaz podcast series aims to popularize new ideas of science and technology, which highlight STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine. This brings to the surface the efforts and researches of Indian scientists, which is desired to bring a change in community learning and teaching, access to knowledge of resources, and social paradigms. Our goal is to spread the name of indigenous Indian research stories and their masters among the masses of society in a very easy manner. Bose Institute was set up in 1917 by Sir Jagadish Chandra Bose, the founder of modern science in the Indian subcontinent. It is Asia's first modern research center devoted to interdisciplinary research and bears a century-old tradition. The institute was founded as not merely a laboratory but a temple, with its principal aims being the advancement of science and diffusion of knowledge. Swami Vivekananda, Sister Nivedita, whose influence is reflected in the institute's emblem of Vajra, was significant in the setting up of the institute, and Rabindranath Tagore were among those who had consistently inspired and supported Jagadish Chandra Bose in his endeavors. Ever since the establishment of the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India in May 1971, Bose Institute has been an autonomous grant-in-aid institution of DST. Over the last century, the institute has endlessly strived to preserve the legacy of its illustrious founder. In this episode of our podcast, we welcome Professor Soumen Roy, who shares his valuable knowledge and experience in the field of systems biology.
I'm Professor Soumen Roy. I did my PhD in statistical physics from Homi Bhabha National Institute. I did my first postdoc at the University of California, Davis in the Department of Computer Science, and my second postdoc at the University of Chicago in the Institute of Genomics and Systems Biology. Here at Bose Institute, I am at the Department of Physical Sciences. So in this episode, I'll be talking about systems biology with a special stress on antimicrobial resistance and phage bacteria interactions. So what is systems biology? So systems biology is a rather new field of science where elements of both mathematics, physics, I mean the mathematical and physical sciences, as well as the biological sciences are combined. So I had read in one report that where they describe systems biology as a goal-oriented, iterative combination of model-driven experimentation and experiment-driven modeling. So the aim is that if we get some biological results, we build models to understand them, and we make testable predictions. So this route has been followed in the physical sciences for centuries, and now we are trying to bring it to biology so that we have a more quantitative understanding of things. So this is very important nowadays in the context of antimicrobial resistance and phage bacteria interactions. So this is one of the greatest threats facing humanity today. And I mean, the United Nations, WHO, United Nations Environmental Program, all of them have flagged antimicrobial resistance as one of the topmost threats to public health. And in India, this is a massive problem. So the superbugs, they are aplenty in India, and we really urgently need regulations and we need remedies to address this situation. And to quote numbers, so it's estimated that by 2050, 1 crore people, 10 million people will die of antimicrobial resistance if things are unchecked. So antibiotics or these antimicrobials, they were the front line of treatment in regard to bacterial infections. But now the bacteria have become resistant to these antibiotics. So what is the way out? So the way out is something called bacteriophages. Now this ironically is not a new field. This field started nearly a century back, and due to the advent of antibiotics, it was pushed to the background. The only places in the world where these bacteriophages were treated and phage therapy was particularly relevant was in the USSR and in the Eastern European countries. Then, due to the advent of antibiotics, USA and Europe, West Europe I mean especially, they pushed these bacteriophage treatments and phage therapy to the background, and antibiotics took over. But with the beginning of this century, when especially the Eastern European countries started joining the European Union, the phage therapy treatments started becoming more and more common, so much so that US FDA has now approved phage therapy officially, and mainstream hospitals in Europe and USA are actually now administering these phage therapeutic treatments. So I should comment on the role of our country here. It is a bit sad that our country lags behind a bit. And this is especially more sad because the discoverer of bacteriophages was someone called Felix D. Herrell, and came to India at least 3-4 times.
Professor explains in detail about the process and application of phage therapy.
By phage therapy, we mean bacteriophages. So what are phages? Phages are basically viruses. So bacteriophages are viruses which prey on these bacteria. So they basically kill these bacteria. So instead of antibiotics, if bacteriophages are used to kill bacteria and do away with the bacterial infections, then this will be a nice thing to do. So since bacteria have now become resistant to these antibiotics, so phage therapy, meaning using bacteriophages for treatment, is a new and promising line. So that is what phage therapy is all about. So in our own lab, we have studied the models system for tuberculosis, which is smegmatis, and we have shown ways, including both experiments and mathematics. So in fact, we have used mathematical and physical techniques to make predictions for experimentalists, which they have been able to successfully verify. And this research has been highlighted in the best of the global journals from the American Society of Microbiology, showing its potential in phage therapy. So we have continued along these lines, and now we have developed more rigorous mathematical techniques, and now think we can have better predictions for phage therapy.
Sir especially talks about the possible application of phage therapy as a method to combat various diseases and its significance for a country like India.
Virtually every disease which you know from bacteria can be treated in principle with bacteriophages. And of course, it will be immensely beneficial for our country. This is one of the areas where the country should really focus on. And US and Europe, as I mentioned, there are hospitals in Germany, in Belgium, and of course in US, where they have actually started administering phage therapy to patients. And there have been cases where antibiotics had stopped working on patients and they were almost pronounced dead by the doctors, but phage therapy has brought them back from the brink of death. So in my humble opinion, India should be really concentrating on this line. And this is especially important because superbugs is one of the most prime concerns to India at the moment.
Sir also emphasizes how Indian industry will benefit from this technique.
Indian industry will be definitely benefited, and Indian industry should have greater participation in this. The reasons that phage therapy as a whole in West Europe and US might also have taken the background was because, people would be surprised to know that all of the leading pharmaceutical houses today, even in US, were actually administering many phage therapeutic treatments a century ago. But so actually penicillin was discovered in 1929 by Fleming. So from it actually came into use in 1943. Phage therapy was proposed around 1919 or so. And at the start of the early 20s, it became mainstream medicine. So now, since we have this problem of antimicrobial resistance and so on, and of course, WHO, FDA, everyone is now insisting on phage therapy. So this is the time to go back, and this is the time for Indian industry to be involved in this.
We heartily thank Professor Roy for sharing his knowledge to enlighten us about a new area of research which have immense application for transforming the treatment process of various diseases.